I am Chucky, the killer dog, and I dig it!
Welcome back to SledgeHammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge.
And I'm Ashley Sledge.
And let's talk horror. So we are at episode number 2 of In Defensive. And today we are joined by somebody that means so much to the both of us.
Yes, Selis. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are great. And what movie are we defending?
Today we are defending Seed of Chucky.
All right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Now, before we actually go into our defense of this, I do want to remind everybody right off the top that we have all of Selis's, also known as Sweet and Spooky, all her social media links, as well as her YouTube links, so you can subscribe to that right down in the description below. But if you've been here for a while, you probably know her pretty well, because Ashley and I are quite fond of Selis.
Mm-hmm.
So before we start defending this, we got to let everybody know the Rotten Tomato scores on this film. It has a tomato meter score of 34% and an audience score of 41%. So these are pretty low numbers when it comes to the Child's Play franchise. Not the lowest.
It's not the lowest, actually.
It is not. But
I know.
It is low. And the lowest one...
We're going to be defending on Friday, right?
We will be defending that one on our next episode.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. But, Selis, what we want to know first off, we want to talk about some of the major criticisms about this film. So what are some of the major criticisms that you've heard about the film before we actually start defending it?
One of the major ones I heard, people were really upset that Glenda pisses themselves.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, like, for that to be the biggest reason why you hate a movie is interesting.
Like, no doubt peeing on themselves. We, like, gotta cut that out.
Like,
I mean, like, honestly, as we can have the doll beaten off in the bathroom,
Yes.
John Waters catching it, but it better not piss on itself.
No.
Chucky could just be jerking it, but like no pissing.
Right.
Yeah. So I know, like, a lot of the criticisms that I hear, it's overly comical. Like, they're looking for Chucky. They want a horror movie where, Chucky stabby. They don't want a bunch of, comedy.
Yeah.
And that's what I've read on the internet, things like that it's too comical for people.
And that's another thing that we're going to start doing in these episodes is I'm not going to directly quote people from Rotten Tomatoes, but I am going to say some of the negatives that people have found about the movie. And, some people talk about the representation of Glenda, and it was good what Don Mancini was trying to do with his representation, but it came off really weak is what I've heard a lot of.
I think it was before its time, to be honest with you. Like, this came out way before its time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. I agree with that.
Yeah, and it was before the representation, especially in the trans community, was as I don't want to say acceptable, because it still really isn't accepted, and it's really sad, but it was before it was even as acceptable as it is now. So people looked at it through this scope of being taboo because of the trans representation in the film. Another thing is I've heard it's overly meta. Like, where Bride of Chucky was meta, this one went way over the top. Like with Tiffany being obsessed with Jennifer Tilly, things like that.
And, like, she's making fun of herself. Like, she's making fun of herself as an actor. And I love that. I
love
Jennifer
it.
Tilly. And they think that she's wonky in this too, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was serving camp. I mean, that's the thing that I love about this movie. It's so campy. I think Don Mancini was like, yeah, we're going to take this in a whole different direction. It's going to be weird, and some people may like it, and some people may hate it.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the people that I want to say this right off the top. Child's Play is my favorite horror franchise of all time. This is personally my least favorite. Now, I don't think this is a bad movie. I really, really enjoy this movie. We just watched it again in preparation for this to kind of, have our facts straight on everything. And I feel like the more I watch it, the more I can find an enjoyment in it, because at least it's entertaining.
Yeah.
I've watched movies that are just dog crap.
Yeah.
This movie is not. I'm at least entertained. While it's not the, dark, demented serial killer Chucky.
But it still has really good kills.
It does.
The
It does
kills
have
are
good kills. Now, we don't want to just talk about the negatives here, because that's not what we're doing. This isn't in offensive. This is in defensive. So we want to know, Celine, why does this movie mean so much to you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I was thinking of that. I actually rewatched it today. It's one of those movies that, like, it's part of the franchise and I like watch this one the most. Like this is the one I've always gravitated towards, and also it was always on TV when I was younger.
Yeah.
And there was something about like Glenda. I don't know. I guess it was just like the way that they looked that I just like was fascinated by. Like from a young age, I was just like, that's so me.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love Glenda, and I always thought that it was such like a breath of fresh air, you know, like he got a wife, now he has a child, and
Yeah.
I love it.
I think this movie was the natural progression
Yeah.
of where you would go from Bride. But I mean, again, some of the meta moments are a little over the top. You know, here's
Very.
Chucky when he's standing in the door. You know, you got your Shining reference
that's
there.
so good. I love
it's like-
I love that scene.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about any of your favorite moments?
Oh my goodness. One of my favorite moments is when I guess at this point they're Glenda. When Glenda is dressed up as Tiffany and is like going off on Chucky. That's so good. And just like the reveal, like they just look absolutely batshit. I love it. And also that was a moment that was just like camp. Like
oh yeah. How do I look, Daddy?
I know.
Oh, it's so good.
Bill Boyd, like the way he changes his voice for both Glenn and Glenda, he does phenomenal with that. Like he makes Glenda so creepy. Like I love it.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Really good acting.
Now they kind of, up until the Chucky TV series, they kind of abandoned Seed of Chucky, and they kind of looked at it almost as the bastard child of the franchise. Now, Chucky season 2, we got the, in my opinion, a much, much better trans representation of Glenda. And I feel like they really honored what Seed of Chucky was.
Yeah.
Now, since Chucky season 2 has come out, have you gone back and maybe gotten a different perspective on Seed of Chucky, or has it really not changed since the release of Chucky season 2?
I would say I think the show is definitely doing it better. I think just like overall the storytelling is a little bit better. I mean, Seed of Chucky came out in such a weird time for movies, so the storytelling I won't say is the best. But I still have fun with both.
Right. And another big thing about this movie that a lot of people I hear, you know, bitch about, and I should have said this earlier, and it's one scene, man. Like if you can't look past one scene, it's the Britney Spears scene. And I hear a lot of people bitching about how stupid it is.
Much.
It makes me laugh.
It's funny.
Like
it's like 2 seconds of the movie.
I know.
And for me, it's like, you know, when you're making a film like this, especially when they're trying to be as meta as they are in this film, what better to do than use something that's huge in pop culture at that moment?
Right.
You know, I could have done without Chucky's, oops, I did it again. I could have done without that.
I think that makes it so much funnier.
No, I kind of love that.
Because my daughter, as all of you know, Kenley, our youngest daughter, she tried to make Chucky into her own Glenda by putting lipstick on him.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's obsessed with this doll.
Yeah. So it's one of those moments where in the movie, like you go back and you watch it now, and people now might not even realize who that is. But I remember my movie theater erupting with laughter at that moment when you see Britney Spears and she flips Chucky the bird. You're just like, really?
Right.
Is this really what we're watching right now?
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So speaking of kills, what is your favorite kill?
Oh my God. I feel like Ken probably knows this one already because we did speak about top 10 Chucky kills.
Yeah.
But it's definitely when Glenda like chops Chucky up.
Okay. Yeah.
I just love it. And like the line delivery and just like slay.
That's awesome.
And another thing about this movie I think is awesome is the one-liners in the movie.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite one-liners, and I know our daughter Chloe, her favorite one-liner is this one.
I am Chucky, the killer dog, and I dig it.
From the beginning of time, that has been one of Chloe's favorite one-liners from any Chucky movie ever. And I know that there's a one-liner that you liked from Chucky. Do you want to talk about that one a little bit?
Yes. So it's the moment when Tiff and Chucky are talking to Glenda, and Chucky's like,
We have a problem with killing.
I don't have a problem with killing.
After Tiffany's like, we have a problem with killing. It's an addiction. And he just says that, and it's so good.
I love how he's so. I don't have a problem.
It's like anybody that's addicted to anything, you know, they never have a problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, and it's that whole thing of, you know, you have Glenda escaping from a life of being a freak, you know, in a freak show.
But they're also finding themselves, like, and this is what this movie, I feel like, is, you know, is showing us. Like, yeah, it's funny, but it also has that underlying, you know, it's got a message of, you know, they're finding themselves, and they want to be just like anybody wants to, you know, feel like, you know, loved and anything like that. Like that's what I get from
and
it. Accepted, yeah.
Especially from like their parents.
Right. They have killer parents, you know, and they don't know who they are.
Yeah, I really connect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they use the name Glenda.
Yeah.
Like that to me is very special too, because one of the very first representations of transgender in film was Glenda. And so for Don Mancini to pay tribute to that, I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
That was something that, you know, and again, I think that he missed the mark in what he was trying to do with the overall tone of the representation.
Yeah.
I will stick by that. But I never thought of it the way that you guys are explaining it. You know, like it's Glenda, and they are trying to find themselves in this world where they've been a freak. That's all they've ever known is being a freak.
Right.
And now they're trying to find themselves by going to find their parents. And when they do find their parents, they find out that they're killers.
They're killers. And it's like, you know, I just want to be accepted for who I am, like, you know, and you guys are killers. Like what's worse? You know what I mean? Like why can't I be accepted for who I am? You guys are killers.
But I think the thing with that though, what you also have this like split of what Chucky wants from Glenn, and what Tiffany wants from Glenda.
Yeah,
you know, and Tiffany my biggest complaint about this movie, because that is something that I do want to do. I want to get all three of our biggest complaints, because nothing's perfect. So even though we are defending the film, we've talked about what other people criticize about it. I would like to talk about our own criticisms of it, and my biggest criticism of it is the character of Tiffany. I think that I would have liked to see Tiffany still be a little more ruthless. I mean, we do get the Red Man kill, which is dope. You know, that is a dope scene where she eviscerates Red Man. I think that's really cool. But I would have liked to, I love Brutal Tiffany. That's something that, you know, I've always been a huge fan of the brutality that Tiffany brings. And she softens up a lot in this movie for Glenda. And I wish that, and I know for story writing purposes why they did it, but that is my biggest complaint. The good part about that, though, is while Tiffany softens up, we get more Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah.
So, and you know, to if we're gonna soften Tiffany up, let's double it up, and let's bring Jennifer back into the fold in this. And so that's my biggest complaint about the film. What would you say your biggest complaint about the film is?
I mean, I don't really have any complaints about it. Like, I guess I would like to see a little bit more of the horror side of it. You know, it is really just like more comedy than anything, and I would like to see more scary, like horror. I think a better mixture of the two.
Kind of like Bride.
Yeah, more like Bride. Yeah. And I know people think that Bride was like the perfect mixture of horror and comedy. So
I'd say Child's Play 3 is the perfect mixture of horror and comedy.
You know how I feel about Bride. So
well, now obviously, Selis, I know this is gonna be a little harder for you because you are a huge fan of this film, but if you had to pick out one criticism that you kind of agree with, what would you say your biggest criticism of the film is?
I would say I definitely agree with your take about Tiffany, because I feel like they didn't show enough of a struggle, like her trying to let go of killing and be a better person. Like they showed like little bits, but I feel like it wasn't enough. I feel like we could have gotten like a bigger like explosion moment of her like killing and doing something really crazy. But I think probably my biggest complaint is that the kills for me are not as creative as previous Chucky films.
I mean, like you said, you get a lot of, you know, you get the evisceration. Personally, my favorite kill is the John Waters acid kill.
I
that's great.
Decapitation one. That's my favorite one. Where they decapitate the
stagehand.
The stagehand guy. That's my favorite.
The thing is, like, I do think that the kills that we do get in this movie, while I agree with you, Celine, they're not as creative.
Yeah.
They look fucking great.
They do.
All the kills in this movie look so so good. Like Redman's evisceration, the decapitation.
Mhm.
John Waters, that acid scene to me is just so brilliant because I'm a huge John Waters fan.
Mhm.
You know, like
Same.
I've always been a huge fan of John Waters, and to see him represented in this film, another funny thing that we've all talked about, woke horror.
Oh, geez.
You know,
Oh God.
I know.
I hate that word.
So do
much.
I. But I mean, it's been woke and had a message since Freaks in 1932.
Absolutely.
You know, it's been something that's been a part of the horror community. And you even go back to Seed of Chucky, you know, they have a lot of representation. Don Mancini, as a queer director, queer writer, he puts a lot of his own life into this film. And to include somebody like John Waters in a film where you're having LGBTQ plus representation at a time when it wasn't getting the representation that it deserved, I thought was brilliant. You know, that's just and it's a little thing. It's the tiniest little thing to bring John Waters into it. It's another one of those moments where it's a beautiful thing and a beautiful kill that I love so much. And while we're talking about the beautifulness of this, we do have, while Glenda does end up snapping when you get the moment you talked about, Selis, nature over nurture. Can you escape who you are from your parents? And that's kind of a big thing that comes with this too. What was your opinion about that type of Glenda can't escape from this? They are going to be who they are. What was your take on that?
It's interesting. I feel like that's a struggle that regular people have if you have like, you know, abusive family dynamics. So yeah, I mean, I kind of I like it, and I feel like, I'm sorry, can you ask me the question again?
The way that Glenda can't escape killing, you know, they've inherited it from their parents, even though they didn't want to. Is that something that you are a fan of, you know, the nature over nurture? Or would you have liked to have seen them come into their own and turn their back on the killing side of things?
Gosh, thank you. Sorry, disassociation. Yes. So I feel like in this film, we definitely don't really get that. Obviously, we get like, you know, Glenda is a killer, but in the show, I feel like they do a good job at seeing them kind of more come into themselves and figure that out. Though they're still dealing with the trauma and struggling with it naturally, anybody would. But yeah.
Well, and something I do want to reiterate here is at the time of recording, and probably at the time of watching this, if you guys are watching it when it's released, Chucky season 3 has been announced. It has not come out yet. So we don't know the direction that Glenda is going to go from here.
Right.
I'm very excited. I also got to point out, I don't know if you guys have caught on to this yet. We do have Chucky, Tiffany, and Glenda here.
We're
So
the family.
Thank you for going all out with us, Selis. We really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I do like how Glenda is like the more dominant like character, you know.
It's
like
so good.
like she's the more evil one. Like I love that.
Yeah, she's very like Tiffany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now another thing that I've heard a lot of criticisms about, the end of the film. Are you a fan of the way that this film ends, or does it leave something to be desired in your opinion?
I think it definitely does leave a lot to be desired, but personally I like it. I think it's a fun ending.
What I love about this ending is Don Mancini left it open for future entry, but it was also a good ending if this is where the franchise ended.
I
love the fact that, you know, Don Mancini got behind the camera on this one and he directed this film, and he was like, you know what, this is my baby. I'm gonna make the movie I want to make, and if you don't like it, suck a butt. I don't care.
Exactly.
I'm going to direct it. And you know, Don Mancini, something I can say about him, and as a huge Chucky fan my whole life, the guy cares about the people that are a part of his film.
Oh, absolutely.
And the people that have been a part of Don Mancini's films always want to work with him again. Devon Sawa has been killed 3 times now in 2 seasons of Chucky, and he keeps coming back. You know, Andy Barkley, Alex Vincent, he's been working with him since he was 6 years old, and he's still a part of this. I love the family dynamic behind the scenes of Child's Play. Now, we are talking about a franchise here.
We are.
You know, and obviously you're defending this film, Selis. Is Seed of Chucky your favorite in the Child's Play franchise?
Yes, everyone on YouTube will get really mad at me, as they have. I actually still get a lot of insults on a video I made literally just ranking this franchise like a year and a half ago, and I put Seed of Chucky as my number one. Everyone's mad at it. Why are you mad? It's a movie
Right.
I like. You don't gotta like it.
You don't have
It's
to
my
like
number
it.
one.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be my favorite.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't understand it because, like I said, you can have disagreements about films.
Yeah.
Like I said, this may not be my favorite in the franchise,
Yeah.
but the fact that you love it so much is another reason Ashley and I have watched it so many times because, like, our friend loves this movie.
Aw,
We're gonna give it another chance.
Right.
That
that makes me happy. Thanks, guys.
But I've never hated it, some people, I don't know. I think it says more about the person than it does, the movie itself.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, and I mean,
it's a killer doll movie. Like, you guys are taking
Yeah.
it way too seriously.
and certain movies just mean things to people that
Yeah.
like you're just not gonna get. It's a personal thing. Not everybody's gonna get
Absolutely.
it.
Even, like you said, you feel, like you watched it and it's like a part of you, like there's
Yeah.
always
Films.
there's comfort films for people.
Yes.
For
There's certain
sure.
films you watch at certain points in your life that are going to mean more to you or mean less to you because of what was going on in your life and the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did a
Definitely.
poll on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen it, Selis, but I was asking for this episode and for a future episode, what is it you love and dislike about Seed of Chucky and another movie in the Child's Play franchise? And one person said, I absolutely despise Seed of Chucky. And the reason why I despise Seed of Chucky is because I went to see it in the movie theater and my car was stolen while I
Oh
was
my
watching it.
So that's
So
why
I look
it's
at
not
this
from
woman.
the
Hold
movie
on,
itself.
but I get where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Like, this movie to me is
It's
a bad luck
traumatic.
charm. I will never watch this movie again. And I'm not laughing because your car got stolen.
Yeah, no,
but,
that sucks.
does
but now you look back on it and
You associate it with
if
that.
yeah, exactly. Like they're gonna see Glenn and be like,
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's something we all have to remember. Be respectful of other people and their opinions because
Yeah,
even if art isn't for you, it was made for somebody.
absolutely.
And in
Definitely.
this case, Seed of Chucky has its fan base.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people that really are diehard fans of this film. Goes over my head a little bit. I'm not a huge fan, but I like the film.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to do here is give this film a rating. Now, we're going to usually on My First Horror Movie, we rank out of 5 skulls. But we have 2 hosts now. And this isn't My First Horror Movie. This is in defense of. So we're ranking out of 10 skulls now.
Okay.
We're going
shit.
all out now.
Oh shit.
Look at it. Usually it's
Can we
5.
do point?
Yeah. You can do
0.5?
half and quarters.
Okay.
Yeah, cut that skull right in
Cut
half.
it
Cut it right at the jaw.
Okay.
So I'll start with you, Selis, since you are our guest of honor tonight and you chose the film that we're talking about. Seed of Chucky, 0 skulls being the worst, 10 being the best. And now we're ranking it as a critic.
Mhm.
Unlike My First Horror Movie, where we rank it on how it affected us on first viewing, what we're doing here is we're being critical. We're ranking it on acting, production, score, direction, story, everything. 0 to 10 skulls. What would your ranking of Seed of Chucky be?
Everyone's gonna clutch their pearls. It's gonna be 8 skulls for me.
Okay.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
fair. So Selis has an 80%, where the tomato meter is where the tomato meter is 34. So you got about a 3.5 skull. The audience scores 41, so a 4 skull. So we've got an 8, a 3.5, and a 4. What would you rank it?
I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Okay.
Like I said, I enjoy this movie. I have a lot of fun with it. And you know that Bride is actually my favorite,
Mhm.
and I wanted more of like that, I
Okay.
guess. Yeah. So that's what I'll give it a 6.5.
I'm gonna say the audience is pretty solid, pretty. Usually, me and the audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes aren't quite agreeable, but I think 4 is fair here. Now, hear me out. For me to rank a movie a 4, that's a 40%. That's still really good.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty critical when it comes
You
to this
are.
stuff.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's still Chucky.
Right.
It is still Chucky.
He has a wife
And
who
now
is
a
awesome,
kid.
and now a kid.
We
Like,
get the scene of them drinking in the back of the limousine
I
and
know.
plotting, with Jennifer Tilly and her limo driver. I mean, come on, man. This scene, while this movie has its problems, it
Mhm.
really does. If you go into this movie looking for Child's Play, looking for Child's Play 2,
yeah,
you're probably not
gonna
going to be a fan.
And I think that's why people don't like it.
Right. But if you go
Definitely.
into this looking to have a fun time,
Yeah.
looking to watch a campy standalone horror film, like next time you guys, if you guys are watching this, we ask you, we beg you, I will even go as far as to say it would behoove you to go back and watch Seed of Chucky. Go into it with an open mind.
Mhm.
Don't go into this movie under the pretense of it being a part of the Child's Play franchise.
Mhm.
Go into this movie, watch it as a standalone, campy film, and I think you will have a good time. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Like, I literally asked for this DVD for Christmas that year. Like, I got this DVD for Christmas. Like, that's, so yeah, I have fun with it. And I think if you give it a rewatch and clear your mind, like, you'll like it. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a problem that a lot of us have, and I'm guilty of it.
Because we were young when it came out, but now we're older, and things change. My top 10s of movies and things like that have changed throughout the years. It's crazy.
Growing up, I hated mustard. Now I love mustard.
You hated
I
mustard.
mean, literally,
changes.
taste can change
Yeah.
in
Absolutely.
all ways.
And you're talking about a movie that, like we said, if you go into this looking for a dark horror movie like Child's Play, if you go into
this
it
is not
looking
that.
for, a family dynamic, like you get in Child's Play 2, you get a family dynamic in this one, but it's a little bit different than those.
Right.
But if you go into this looking for, what, I want to watch a campy, fun, standalone horror movie. Don't even think about the rest of the franchise. Don't think about the future of the franchise. Live in the moment.
Yeah.
Watch Seed of Chucky for what it is, and maybe you'll find a new respect for it. Maybe you'll find a new love for it. So before we let you go, Selis, I do want to remind everybody that your links are down in the description. So everybody, make sure you're following Sweet and Spooky. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. Now, before we let you go, you ask her what her defense is.
Oh, what is your defense of this movie?
So what we're going to do here is your defense. What you have somebody that's telling you, Selis, I've never seen Seed of Chucky. Why do you think I should watch this film? You have 30 seconds to tell them why they should choose Seed of Chucky. What would your reason be?
These are the reasons you should watch Seed of Chucky. It is a lot of fun. Glenn Glenda is an icon. There are really fun kills. They're not super creative, but they're still fun. You get Jennifer Tilly twice. You get 10 times the meta. If you love meta, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
We didn't tell Selis we were asking that question, and you were fucking locked and loaded, girl. You were like,
She's like, I know exactly why, because I defend this all the time.
She says, I wasn't even prepared for a question like this.
I literally have to defend it all the time, actually. So
if you guys like Seed of Chucky, please let us know in the comments why you love Seed of Chucky. If you're not a fan, let us know why you're a fan. And if you can, go back and revisit it with everything that we've just talked about and see if maybe you could see it in a different light. Maybe you'll go back and rewatch it and be like, they're dumb. I still hate this movie.
Yeah.
Which
is fine. Yeah.
Each his own.
Just be respectful of it.
Just be respectful.
People love different things. And that's why the world is great, because everybody's different.
If every single video we all did was the exact same, there'd be no reason to have channels, because you could watch one and know everything. We want to broaden your horizons here. That's why we want to defend these. So whether it's Jason Goes to Hell, whether it's whether it's Seed of Chucky, whether it's our next week's episode, which is Child's Play 3. You guys, we want you to go back and rewatch these movies with open minds, because like I said, tastes change, the way we view things change.
Yeah.
And maybe if you hear somebody that has a better experience with the film, you can go back and look for these things that will maybe open your eyes. I mean, doing this interview, I opened my eyes to the struggle of Glenn and Glenda and trying to find themselves and going to find their parents and realize who they are in the world, which is something that straight cis men and women have to battle with, let alone if you're going through something like if you're transgender and you're trying to express that to people. There are so many hardships that come along with just being, like I said, a cis white man growing up. I had plenty of things that I was so unsure about in my life, and my parents were there. My mom was there for everything. Yeah. I couldn't imagine being a transgender person and trying to find my place in the world with the amount of hate that's going on.
The amount of unacceptance and
misunderstanding. Yeah. So that part, you guys just opened my eyes to that. So doing this episode with you guys has made me gain an even deeper appreciation to that part of the film. So
everybody wants to be accepted. Everyone.
Yes.
That's all we ever want.
Mhm.
Love and acceptance. It's literally what makes the world go round. And speaking of love and acceptance, we love and accept you, Selis. We thank
do.
you so
Thank you
much
so much.
for
Thank
joining
you.
us. When we came up with this idea, the first 4 guests that we had came right off the top of our
Mhm.
heads, just like that, because we love working with you 4 so damn much. So, Selis, please don't go anywhere. We got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, if you haven't already, please make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you follow Selis. Make sure you subscribe to Sweet and Spooky on YouTube and follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. We'd love to have you along for the ride. But until next time, keep talking horror,
Stay who you are.
and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.